Jin Shushu squatted in the Zhao's building for 3 days before seeing Zhao Jin. At that time, it had been snowing for 2 days, and the sky was full of white. Zhao Jin was wearing a coat, and someone next to him was holding an umbrella. As he walked, he was talking to the people around him. Young and tall men walked in a group of people. Among the directors of the year, it is particularly conspicuous. Jin Shushu was able to recognize him completely because he was in the forefront. Even if Jin Shushu knew that Zhao's president had a face that was enough to enter the entertainment industry, Jin Shushu was also very desperate. As long as it was a face without special marks, it would be for her. For this kind of face blindness, there is no recognition. At this moment, Jin Shushu stared at the man and remembered the style of the coat he was wearing. She probably calculated the time and made sure that she could catch up with him before he got into the car. She hadn't found a chance in the past few days. Time is running out, she must settle this matter quickly. Just after Jin Shushu had already planned and was about to talk to the other party, the driver opened the door for him after seeing that he had ordered a few people. Zhao Jin seemed to have thought of something, took a long leg, and went to a coffee shop not far away. Jin Shushu felt that the opportunity had come, and she followed immediately. Although Jin Shushu has never been to such high-end places, she still understands that the more high-end places, the less embarrassing the guests, so she didn't feel nervous and went straight in. Such a noisy place, there is such a quiet and elegant environment, and even unknown music flows, like a trickling spring. After spinning around for a few times, Jin Shushu was a little strange, and she was lost. Yes, Zhao Jin is gone. She searched the entire coffee shop, but did not see Zhao Jin. At this time, the waiter also came, mainly because this person has been looking for 2 laps, but no one has been found yet. Miss, are you looking for someone? At this moment, the man sitting next to him said, she is here to find me. Jin Shushu turned his head and saw a man in a grey sweater speaking to her. The waiter naturally helped pull the chair away, and Jin Shushu was a little hard to get off, and sat down in this position. After the waiter left, Jin Shushu was a little embarrassed. Thank you. Although the man's voice is low, it is very similar to the music at the moment, gentle and relaxing. It's just a matter of hand. I think you have been looking for 2 laps. Are you looking for someone? Perhaps it was because the voice was really nice and it made people defenseless. Jin Shushu nodded. Well, I have to find it. The man looked at the little baby-faced girl, and continued, it may be difficult to find this way. Who are you looking for? Maybe I know. I come here often. He had a very sincere tone. Jin Shushu couldn't recognize his expression, but she thought of this position and was facing the entrance, saying that he might not have seen it, so she said, do you know Zhao Jin, the CEO of the Zhao Group? The man said, yes, do you have anything to do with him? Saying that I may not be able to help you. He couldn't understand the girl now. He found out that this woman had been following him 3 days ago, pretending to be a coincidence with him, but after doing various things in front of him, he even asked him about Zhao Jin's itinerary twice, but the next time meeting each other is like knowing again. Does she think she is a goldfish? 8 seconds of memory. However, the appearance of this lost little elk has to admit that for ordinary men, it is difficult to refuse such a delicious little elk delivered to the door. But Zhao Jin is not good at this. He doesn't like this kind of woman who deliberately hooks up with men, making him feel like a gift. I didn't want to talk about it, but there was heavy snow outside today. Although he felt that the other party's brain might have a problem and used this magical way to fish him, but considering that if someone freezes to death outside his company, his reputation is not very good, so he specializes give the other party a chance. When he came in, he sat in the most conspicuous position, and then watched her anxiously find a circle, 2 circles, 3 circles. I saw him more than once, and then looked away. This kind of concealed appearance was a bit stupid, but fortunately she looked young, so although she was stupid, she had privileges at a young age, and she was stupid and cute. So I stopped her helplessly. She didn't expect that after sitting down, she would pretend not to know him again. It really wasn't surprising at all. However, it was the first time that Zhao Jin looked at this girl who was stalking herself at such a close distance. She looked pretty good, and the most brilliant thing was her eyes, which were smart and clear. Wearing a large and bloated down jacket, she still looks like a high school student. If you didn't know about her various things in the past few days, you wouldn't think she was lying at all. She seemed to be just a student, probably because of her age. Although she was very thin, she even had a little baby fat on her face. Zhao Jin thought about educating the girl, studying hard, and spending the energy of chasing a man on reading. Jin Shushu was a little surprised to hear that the other party knew Zhao Jin. Do you know how to contact him? Zhao Jin met her very bright eyes. He may be busy. If you have anything, I can help you convey it. What he thought in his heart was that his eyes were so bright, and he said that it is not necessarily that this little girl who has worked hard really likes herself, but that her personal pursuit needs to be improved. When he reached the position of Zhao Jin, he really met many suitors, but Zhao Jin felt that these people only saw his good-looking appearance and his identity, and did not see his particularly interesting soul. Jin Shushu was really surprised that he would meet such a kind person, and took the list next to him. Then I will ask you to have coffee. Zhao Jin. He encountered this routine at least 3 times a month. Jin Shushu didn't know what the person opposite was thinking. Although it was a bit painful to look at the price, she didn't need to worry if the matter could be resolved. What are you looking for with him? Zhao Jin asked. He wanted to see if the conversation this time could be a bit new. Jin Shushu slowly said the matter. She has a magic team. Everyone can only take part in birthday parties and other events, but they are working hard to pool money and expand their business. Finally they got the money, so they prepared to have a magic show. The tickets were sold out, and the venue was rented. But what I didn't expect was that the venue suddenly told them a few days ago that there was no way to rent the place to them, saying that a company was going to hold an annual meeting. But on their side, the tickets are all sold out, and it is impossible to change the venue temporarily and change the time. So I thought about discussing with the venue if I could even share the time, but the other party's attitude was very tough, and he didn't answer her phone at all. I couldn't find them when I tried to find the person in charge, but found that none of them were there, willing to take responsibility for this matter. Jin Shushu has no other way, and she has no time to defend her rights, because now the most important thing is the magic show. Since there is no person in charge who is willing to take charge of this matter, she decided to find the biggest person in charge. Because the venue was under the name of Zhao's company, Jin Shushu simply came over to block the boss of Zhao's company. Jin Shushu originally told Zhao Jin about this. Zhao Jin's expression was a bit strange. This girl didn't look like a magician. However, although Zhao Jin feels that the other party is a little bit like a lie, but lying is not enough to make up the details of the story. So Zhao Jin smiled. He smiled mildly, which can be said to be the gentleness of a standard businessman. It was not obvious that he actually had an opinion about the person in front of him, and said, I called and asked him. Successful businessmen are gentle and polite. Even if they are the rivals in the market, they can talk and laugh in the scene. It can be said that they are old foxes for thousands of years. The perennial masks make them good at interpersonal and never offend anyone easily, even if just an ordinary person. Zhao Jin took his mobile phone, went to the next door, and called his assistant. I soon got the news that I have never rented a venue to the magic team. All of their venues are not for individuals or teams, so this matter is still easy to check. Zhao Jin. Well, he really got a bit of a routine. When he returned, looking at this innocent female student with very bright eyes, as if looking at her own future, Zhao Jin felt that if the other party put the ability to make stories on learning, it should be good. Jin Shushu asked a little embarrassedly, did he say anything? Zhao Jin met this girl's eyes. It was, so suitable for acting. There was no tension that ordinary people would be exposed to lies. A good tutor makes him not embarrass people face to face even if he knows that the other party is lying. He just said gently, he said he needs to check. Jin Shushu is a little happy, but actually wants a contact information for Zhao Jin, but feels that the other party has already helped him a lot, and it would be really embarrassing to trouble the other party anymore. Let's talk about a company as big as the Zhao Group, and Zhao Jin's reputation is very good, otherwise she would not come to the other party, so she said, "Thank you, what do you want to drink? I invite you." Jin Shushu is a sweetheart as long as she smiles, so Zhao Jin doesn't quite understand a girl who looks very good. Why pursue a man who doesn't understand him like this? The author has something to say, Jin Shushu. What is this person thinking? Why can't I understand? Not only is the smile sweet to the heart, but the speech is also very gentle and sounds very comfortable, Zhao Jin thought thoughtfully. Jin Shushu really felt that he was very lucky. He was lost and almost thought that he had missed this opportunity, but he didn't expect to turn around and meet such a good person. This is my business card. I don't know if you like magic or not. If necessary, I can perform once for free. I really appreciate your help to contact Zhao Jin. It may be a little trouble if I rely on myself. The main reason is that Jin Shushu has no other way of expressing gratitude. Zhao Jin accepted it. Of course, he would never be able to call the other party. You don't need to be so polite. It's just a matter of effort. It is understandable that you can't find Zhao Jin. Zhao Jin is arrogant. Under normal circumstances, it's hard to find. They are rich people like this. Zhao Jin should have persuaded the girl to give up this stalking pursuit, but he didn't know why he saw the other side being sincere and bullying, so he inexplicably wanted to tear off her mask. So he chuckled, and effortlessly blacked himself out, wanting to see if he played the cards so unconventionally, whether the other party praised him or followed his intentions. Jin Shushu was very confused. Why did this man suddenly change his style of painting? She looked at the other person in confusion, and said uncertainly, "Really?" Her confused little eyes made people feel like a small animal that accidentally broke into the human world. She wanted to reach out and poke her in the face to see if it was as soft as imagined. So Zhao Jin looked into her eyes and continued, "Try not to contact him. As far as I know, he lied to at least a dozen girls a year, all of whom were pure female college students. In fact, there is another wife." Jin Shushu, God level embarrassed, why suddenly started talking about other people's private affairs. Although the cheating package is very poor, it is not good to discuss people's private affairs behind the scenes. But because the other party helped me just now, it would be too impolite to walk away directly, so Jin Shushu took a sip of coffee, and then smiled embarrassedly instead of politely, "This way." Fortunately, in the soothing light music, the atmosphere is still harmonious. Zhao Jin received this response. Seeing her at a loss, she found it to be quite cute. If her personal goals were not too low, she might still be willing to be friends with her. Don't believe it, he often hides his wife from supporting others, but he is actually stingy and rarely really gives money. Zhao Jin, a single dog with an interesting soul, is very happy by himself. Jin Shushu thought for a while, then changed the subject and said, "Do you want some dessert? I think the desserts here are pretty good." At this moment, Jin Shushu's phone rang. Jin Shushu picked it up and heard the voice on the other end, "Boss, when are you coming back? Something happened here." Zhao Jin saw that she had something to do, and said to her, "Maybe I can't eat dessert, I have to go back." Jin Shushu hung up the phone, "Thank you so much today. I will contact you later and invite you to dinner." Zhao Jin watched the girl leave and prepared to go out. The waiter next to him brought his coat. Zhao Jin put it on, and when he went out, he saw that the girl had already taken a taxi and left. Zhao Jin also received a call at this time, and he had to go back to the meeting. Zhao Jin estimated that this girl might not appear anymore. On the other side, Jin Shushu had already returned to the rented place. She took off her thick coat. After entering, she found Assistant Liang sitting on the sofa, and no one else was there. Jin Shushu said happily, "Tell them, I have already settled the venue." The assistant was a little guilty. They left yesterday and said they wanted to open a restaurant. Jin Shushu was a little surprised, but it was just a too. Now the magic industry is in a downturn, and in the eyes of the elders, it is not doing business properly. The Chinese New Year will soon be coming, and they are under great pressure. Jin Shushu was taken aback for a moment and said, "I'll call them. This performance is very important, and it will take time to recruit people again." Of course, the original people are more familiar with the process. After dialing, they were all turned off. Jin Shushu calmly sent a message, and after talking about the whole thing, Assistant Liang stood aside and watched his boss send the message. Assistant Liang is very tall, but he doesn't look good, and his face is fierce. More than 1 or 2 people said he was like a reform-through labor prisoner, but he actually went to prison. So when he was looking for a job, it was because of his appearance. Resume, repeatedly hitting the wall, happened to meet Jin Shushu, who was recruiting people. After he knew the reason for his imprisonment, Jin Shushu left him. Just like this, the man who was so tall and scared of crying children stood aside, watching the thin and tender Jin Shushu finish sending the message, and then whispered, "My sister is in her 3rd year of high school this year." Jin Shushu turned his head without any expression, just said, "When this performance is over, I will give you a salary increase so that your sister can go to cram school." Such a gentle and talkative boss made Assistant Liang even more guilty. "Boss, I'm sorry." Although the boss is a bit fierce, Assistant Liang has always known that if the boss is not fierce, they might not be able to rent this house. Jin Shushu shook his head. Everyone has their own difficulties. This is life. It may be because I haven't been able to eat anything in the past few days, and the weather is too cold. Jin Shushu feels a little uncomfortable, so he pressed his stomach. Assistant Liang saw that she was uncomfortable, so he hurried to the kitchen to heat up the porridge and brought it out. "Boss, have some porridge." Jin Shushu drank half a bowl of porridge and said to Assistant Liang next to him, "Thank you." Taking off the down jacket, Jin Shushu, a thin girl, looks about the same size as Assistant Liang's sister. Assistant Liang saw her comforting herself as always, and felt even more uncomfortable. When she first met Jin Shushu was alone. She was wearing a suit jacket and could not stop the youthfulness on her face. She sat in the middle of the room. "Tell him, are you here to apply, right?" Later, he recruited a few more people one after another, and he discovered that she also looked like a student, but was actually better than the group of them. She distributed flyers, ran business, and solicited customers. It could take 2 days. Staying up at night, when you practice, you work harder. Of course he knows that the boss is kind to them, but there are many helpless things in the world. Jin Shushu recovered some physical strength, then returned to the next room and began to practice the magic to be performed the day after tomorrow. According to the contract, they can go to set up the venue tomorrow. This point must be off work. Ask them early tomorrow morning. Jin Shushu started learning magic with his master at the age of 4. It has been 20 years since then, but magic requires constant innovation. If there is no innovation, no one would want to watch it. The next morning, Jin Shushu called the phone on the other side of the venue again, thinking, it should be almost coordinated now, right? However, after hearing Jin Shushu say this, the people over there said, "Are you sick? Did you already pay you the compensation the day before yesterday? Do you want to blackmail it again?" Jin Shushu frowned, "What compensation? Didn't you send someone over to negotiate the compensation? I keep the contract. Don't want to deny it." Immediately afterwards, I received the MMS from the other party, and the signature on the picture above was that of her original deputy. Jin Shushu was very angry, but he also knew that now, the other party was innocent. I can only say, sorry, I don't know that this matter was done by 2 employees who have left. Can I repay you the compensation and you vacate the venue? How many times have I said that this venue really can't be rented to you? The phone was hung up over there. Jin Shushu now has no choice but to call a few employees, but they are all turned off. It seems that they not only want to leave the industry, but also plan to leave with a sum of money. Jin Shu thought for a while, and called the police again at 110. That was her money. Several of them carried her and took away her money. He hurriedly made a transcript in the police station. When he came out, Jin Shushu didn't hesitate to go to the website to refund the ticket, then edited the private messages and apologized one by one. After all this is done, it is already night. Jin Shushu can't sleep anymore. She is a little anxious. No matter who wants to face this kind of thing at once, she becomes anxious, so she must start to write a plan again. There will be a little peace of mind if there is a plan. Now that the performance is gone, Jin Shushu comforts herself that if it is gone, it will be gone. She can hold the first show, and she can pool the money to do it again, but when she comes again, she must learn lessons and lessons from all aspects. Jin Shushu turned over his previous client books to see if there were any families who had their birthdays recently, circled them around, and you can call and ask tomorrow. After finishing all this, Jin Shushu lay on the bed and slowly fell asleep. On the other side of the city, in a brightly lit villa, Zhao Jin raised his wine glass, and then listened to the people next to him with a smile. Probably the woman in the whole room's eyes were on him alone, and the man's gestures were indescribably extravagant. I don't know if it's because of studying in the UK in his early years. This man always has aristocratic qualities that other businessmen don't have. People are fascinated. Zhao Jin finished the banquet, and when he walked back, what he thought of was the girl wearing a large down jacket, soft and cute like a lost elk. Calm down, I am definitely not the kind of rich man who hooks up and gets hooked. The author has something to say. The last stubbornness of a rich and interesting man like Mr. Zaiyu have to hook up a few more times and stick to it. Head Jin, sorry, our daughter is going to have a princess birthday party this year. Okay, happy birthday to the little princess Lingling. Jin Shushu hung up the phone. She called several places next to her, but no one wanted to ask her to perform magic tricks. Children nowadays are not the ones they used to be. Children nowadays are living in the era of information explosion. They can use mobile phones and computers when they are very young. They are very familiar with various searches. Magic is far less attractive to them than a game, and in general, families who have a leisurely birthday party, most of them are richer, and the children in the family are even more knowledgeable. Jin Shushu even encountered children deliberately more than once. Find the fault, or expose her magic. But now she can only receive these. Jin Shushu contacted all the potential customers listed, but still did not find any customers. At this time, Jin Shushu returned to the website, seeing the cancelled tickets, still a little unwilling. Only one step away. At this time, she suddenly realized another problem. Not everyone realized that the ticket had been refunded, and saw her private message explaining her apology. Jin Shushu quickly woke up Assistant Liang Wan in the next room. We need to go out. It's still snowing outside. In this weather, if someone really goes to watch the magic show, they must be a loyal fan of magic. In fact, if you are willing to book tickets, you must be a loyal fan of magic. There are no people now. That kind of leisure does not have the time to watch a magic trick. Jin Shushu put on a thick down jacket and a hat. If the other party arrives at the venue and then can't get in, no one can explain. If you don't know the inside story and wait for a while in the snow, you will definitely be very happy. Stuffed. Jin Shushu actually didn't have much money, but he planned to take Assistant Liang to take a taxi to the theater. Before leaving, he took 2 whiteboards from the room where the props were placed, and then took the marker. Assistant Liang put on a black coat. He was tall and tall. If he didn't look at his face, he could be a model. He followed Jin Shusha behind him. "Boss, why are we going to the theater?" "They are not." Jin Shushu explained, "I only refunded the ticket yesterday, and I am worried that some people did not see the news." Assistant Liang was a little reluctant. "It doesn't matter if I didn't see the news, the money has already been refunded anyway." Jin Shusha sat in the car. Without further explanation, Assistant Liang saw that it was impossible to say that Jin Shusha was no longer possible, so he could only sit in it. In the car, all Jin Shusha was thinking about was hoping that she would be able to come to the theater early. It may have been bad luck for too long. There was still some little luck. When Jin Shusha arrived at the theater, there was no one. Jin Shusha did not go in either. This is the place where she and her master dreamed of going in. She was only 1 step away. She had been here countless times. But now is not the time to grieve autumn and winter. Jin Shusha wrote on the whiteboard about the refund of the magic show, and then put it next to him. Assistant Liang was shivering with the cold, and wanted to go back, but the head of the group looked like a mountain in the wind and snow, and he couldn't say anything. Mr. Zhao, who came over for the annual meeting, sat in the car alone. He raised his eyes and saw the redness standing in the snow. There was a sign in front of her, Magic Show Consultation Office. Mr. Zhao really admired him for the first time. He had seen a lot of people with perseverance, but it was the first time he had seen him pursue him with such perseverance. If he hadn't repeatedly confirmed that there was no such thing as a magic show, he might have believed it. Mr. Zhao asked the driver to stop, and then walked over. It was really cold, Mr. Zhao, who was wearing a black coat, thought. Jin Shusha saw a tall man approaching. Her first reaction was that Assistant Liang, who had gone to buy hot milk tea, came back. After approaching, although the clothes were correct, he didn't smell milk tea on his body, so it shouldn't be Assistant Liang. Assistant Liang accidentally knocked down 2 cups of milk tea just now, and he smelled a lot of milk tea on his body. Now he is going to buy milk tea again. If you walk towards yourself, you must be a magic fan who has booked a ticket. Jin Shusha smiled, "Hello, have you scheduled the magic show this afternoon?" Look at the expressions of strangers again. Zhao Jinzhen was not surprised at all. After all, it was not the first time, nor was it the second time. What he thought was whether this girl thought he would meet thousands of people every day, so he could not remember 1 in thousands of her at all. We'll use this method to constantly brush his presence here. Zhao Jin said, "Yes, I booked a ticket, can I go in and see it?" In Jin Shusha's mind, men's voices are almost the same, while women's voices are of a different kind. Under normal circumstances, she recognizes gender by voice, and then remembers people by dressing, height, hairstyle, etc. Obviously, someone with an interesting soul has a popular hairstyle, so his memory is only clothes. After changing his clothes, in front of Jin Shushu, he was simply reborn after changing his skin. Jin Shushu said guiltily, "I'm sorry, this magic show has been cancelled. I have refunded the ticket last night, and I am sorry that it caused you trouble. This is my contact information. It is convenient to leave a contact information for you. Is it? You can enter for free at the next magic show." Zhao Jin looked at the snow on her hat, looked at the person who persistently wanted his contact information, and sighed, "Actually, there are many other choices in this world. There is no need to hang on a tree. You are not too old. Let's be big, besides it's so cold, go back and study hard, you will come across a better choice in the future." When Jin Shushu heard this, she naturally thought that he was bad-mouthing magic. She was used to it. Many people felt that magic was not a serious job, and that she should find a serious job. Jin Shusher rarely feels this way in front of outsiders, but today there is an exception. After all, the other party is also good for her. Jin Shusher said, "Thank you for your concern. I do encounter some problems now, but the meaning of life is probably a constant fall. Get up again, fall down, get up outside, and finally wait for the gift. For me, this is the whole of my life, so that, even if I fall and lie in the mud, I just need to think of the days on the stage. I feel that I still look forward to tomorrow." I don't know why Jin Shusha feels full of healing power as she talks about it. As she herself said, as long as she thinks of the feeling of performing magic on stage, she looks forward to tomorrow, no matter what happens today. Zhao Jin looked at her with eyes full of stars, feeling strange. The secretary on the other side also came to urge him, so Zhao Jin had to get back to the car. Jin Shusha didn't guess wrong. Several people came one after another, all of whom had not seen the refund information. After Jin Shushu apologized one by one, they also expressed their understanding. When Zhao Jin came out after the annual meeting, she was still in the snow, alone, looking at her from a distance, very pitiful. "Zhao Jin. I feel that the other party is a bit too much. He doesn't like people who toss their bodies in pursuit of others. Regardless of men and women, he thinks the brain circuit is very strange." Zhao Jin thought it might be the last time she had been frozen in the snow for so long, and her performance in the coffee shop made her think this approach was feasible. "And when you first came, you shouldn't go down to see her. Since you can't accept her, it's better for this person to deal with it coldly. If you can't accept her, you can talk to her while talking to her, but it hurts her." After figuring this out, Zhao Jin strode forward without looking back, and then bumped to the ground. Someone ran too fast and hit him all at once. Immediately after that, he felt something spilled on his coat. Zhao Jin raised his eyes and saw that the other party was a man about the same height as him and looked fierce. However, when Zhao Jin was about to say something, he saw that the other party had already run away, probably because he was afraid that he would let him pay for his clothes or something. Zhao Jin looked at the milk tea on his clothes, and a big smell of milk. "Forget it, go back and change clothes." He shouldn't have come out by himself just now. If he hadn't come out by himself, this kind of thing would definitely not happen. Zhao Jin couldn't tolerate himself being poured over with milk tea, which smelled like milk tea, so he turned his head back. He was going to go back by car. Just when he stepped on his long legs and walked back, before he took a few steps, he saw the man who hit him just now and walked forward while making a call, "Uncle, the job you said last time." Then disappear into the corner. Before taking a few more steps, someone took his arm and said, "Okay, your salary will be increased by 200. Let's pack up and go home. Now there should be no one coming. After all, even if the magic show is open, the point is also over." A strong man of 1.8 meters tall who went to the gym twice a week was dragged back by a girl wearing a thick down jacket and looking like a cumbersome penguin. Zhao Jin's worldview has been impacted. Where does she get so much strength? Zhao Jin froze for a moment, and his first reaction was, "So what is my salary? An increase of 200 yuan is 3,200. Jin Shushu also has a headache. If it is normal, she will never stay, but it is very difficult to recruit people during this period, and after recruiting people, it is necessary to teach from the beginning, too. A big trouble. The most important thing is that this assistant is a bit fierce, and when taken with him, it can save a lot of unnecessary trouble, otherwise she won't be so easy to compromise. 200 is already the bottom line, I can't raise it for you anymore." Jin Shusha said blankly, looking at this person. Her eyes were deep, like a bottomless pit, shuddering. Before Zhao Jin could say anything, Jin Shushu had already handed the whiteboard to him. "Okay, go back." Zhao Jin can actually resist, telling this woman that 3,002 is not enough to sell him, but he is a little curious about what this woman is going to do next. So Zhao Jin sent a message to the secretary. After getting in the car, Jin Shushu told the taxi driver the location, and then leaned in the car to rest. It's like returning to the beginning, and everything has to start again. Fortunately, this time is much better than then. She has a place to live, she knows what to do next, and she also has experience of failure. Zhao Jin next to him wanted to talk to her, but found that she had fallen asleep leaning on the car window. After falling asleep, he turned into that harmless little white rabbit. Zhao Jin even wondered if he had made a mistake just now. Jin Shushu returned home and said to someone, "There are tomatoes and eggs in the refrigerator. When cooking porridge, remember to fry a tomato and egg." Zhao Jin, "I don't know how to cook. Go to study." Jin Shushu said a little tiredly, "I'm going to rest for a while. Today's work is basically done by her alone." Then turned around and entered the prop room next to him. Leave Zhao Jin alone in the middle of the room, which is different from what he imagined. Zhao Jin looked at this place, but it was quite clean, but the house was a bit old. At this moment, the door opened and a tall man walked in with the key in his hand. Zhao Jin remembered this man, the man who hit him. Assistant Liang also froze for a moment. "Who are you? Why are you here?" Then, Assistant Liang realized that the two of them were about the same height and had the same hairstyle. Not only that, but they also wore the same black coat. Assistant Liang said, "The boss must have admitted the wrong person again." He said this as if he was justifying his treachery. A magician can't even recognize what he can do. Assistant Liang said as he packed his things. He didn't have much things, so he took them away in a few seconds. Zhao Jin froze for a moment, realizing that the problem might be more complicated. "I was going to ask Jin Shushu to come out, but knocked on the door twice, but found no movement. It's not that it's been freezing for too long in the snow, what's wrong, right?" Zhao Jin turned the door handle and found that there was no lock. He opened the door, and the room was a bit dark. Zhao Jin went in and said, "Are you okay? There are all boxes in this room, and there is a very strange thing next to it. But I didn't see Jin Shushu." When he was feeling strange, he looked up and saw the person hanging upside down on the wall. The white clothes hung upside down on the white wall, so that he didn't notice it. "Zhao Jin." Jin Shushu opened his eyes, "What's the matter?" Zhao Jin discovered at this time that she was not hanging upside down for no reason. She pulled a rope one by one. "Zhao Jin." He suddenly knew why she was so strong. "You, what are you doing?" Jin Shushu was hanging upside down like this, still speaking calmly, "Exercise." Zhao Jin realized a problem at this time. Maybe the other party was really a magician. He had seen an extreme magician escape upside down in the sky before. It should be difficult for ordinary people to hang upside down like this, right? To avoid embarrassment, Zhao Jin went on to say, "I'm here to tell you that I can't accept this job." I saw Jin Shushu glance at him, and then, she was already standing in front of him, and said blankly, "Yes." Zhao Jin was frightened. He swore that he didn't blink, but the other party stood in front of him in an instant. In the gloomy room, Zhao Jin was terrified. After taking a half step back, he just hit the wooden box next to him. Then he heard a knock. The wooden box fell to the ground and made a loud noise. Zhao Jin said, "Being an assistant, I think I should be able to do it." Jin Shushu glanced at the broken box on the ground, then glanced at the awkwardly smiling person. His voice was a bit cold, "Of course you have to accept it, or what props to pay for me." Immediately afterwards, Zhao Jin saw the other party stretch out his hand and put it on the wall again. Zhao Jin. He swears that he will go back in an instant, there is no intermediate process. He originally thought that the other party was hooking up with him, so the so-called magic trick was just a conversation. Then he discovered that the other party might really be a magician. However, this recognition has not been maintained for 3 minutes, and he needs to calm down now. Zhao Jin left the room that shocked his thoughts blankly and returned to the living room. His mind is full of the scene just now, he can be sure, although the light in the room is not bright, but he can still be sure, very sure. Could this be a human being after evolution? Wait, there seems to be a magician who has performed teleportation. Zhao Jin took out his mobile phone, searched the internet, and found keywords such as Helo Theater Magic Show, Extreme Magic, and Teleportation. I clicked in and found that the top one was an apology, and the ticket was refunded due to venue issues. Zhao Jin. So, what she said is true. There was a problem with the venue today, so I had to refund the ticket? Zhao Jin looked at the door over there, and now he could leave secretly without her coming out. But... Zhao Jin recalled how the assistant called this woman, and knocked on the door. Boss, can you learn teleportation if you are an assistant? A voice came from inside, scrambled eggs with tomatoes. President Zhao. Isn't it just a scrambled egg with tomatoes? He took out his mobile phone and couldn't do it. Wouldn't he ask someone to do it? The author has something to say, a small teaching theater. Jin Shushu, we who learn magic have three realms, one depends on surgery and the other depends on props. The highest realm is the love of magic. Zhao Jin raised his hand, I want to learn teleportation. Jin Shushu, rely on love to generate electricity, learn from me, close your eyes, and feel the love in my heart. Zhao Jin. Zhao Jin took the porridge and tomato scrambled eggs delivered by his assistant from far away, and then returned to the kitchen and poured the scrambled tomatoes with tomatoes into the pot. Really wit. Then I knocked on the door and called Jin Shushu, boss, the scrambled eggs with tomatoes are already fried. Zhao Jin didn't feel aggrieved, because he really wanted to know how the other party could teleport, and could it teleport in a large area? As a person who has reached a height where it is difficult to break through again, both in terms of social status and wealth, Zhao Jin originally felt that life was getting more and more boring. Now suddenly there was something beyond his cognition in life, and he had to admit that he was very happy. When Jin Shushu came out, Zhao Jin scooped scrambled eggs with tomatoes from the pot. Then he said to Jin Shushu, it's done. Then put the scrambled eggs with tomatoes on the table. Jin Shushu went to scoop 2 bowls of porridge and brought them out. Zhao Jin's attention was on Jin Shushu. She didn't talk much, ate a meal in a hurry, and then returned to the room. Zhao Jin. Do you not praise him for doing well with scrambled eggs with tomatoes? Zhao Jin didn't eat much, because he didn't eat tomatoes since he was a child. So after Jin Shushu finished eating, Zhao Jin took the dishes and chopsticks into the kitchen. When I came out, I saw Jin Shushu sitting at the desk again. She was holding her mobile phone, and she was probably making a call. The tone was very gentle, thank you Mr. Zhang, I wish you a happy life. After speaking, Jin Shushu turned around and said to Zhao Jin, be prepared, there will be a birthday party tomorrow. Zhao Jin responded very quickly, are you going to do magic? Jin Shushu, you seem a little happy today. Is it because of the 200 yuan salary increase? Zhao Jin sat down and said calmly, fortunately, it is mainly because of the 200 yuan salary increase. By the way, you will practice the magic that will be changed tomorrow at home today. I can help you see. Jin Shushu is a little strange, usually these people basically don't help her pay attention to magic. But she also felt that she could ask him to look at it first to make sure it would work. Zhao Jin was a little nervous and saw that Jin Shushu had already started. She folded her hands together, and then closed her eyes, and saw a rose in her hand. Zhao Jin, where did come from? Where did it come from? Jin Shushu squeezed the rose, snapped his fingers, and saw that the rose turned into a colorful butterfly. The colored butterfly soon disappeared. Zhao Jin. How is this done? Jin Shushu opened his eyes and looked at Zhao Jin, this is what I came up with recently. It should be able to deal with children. Zhao Jin said, I think you can perform 2 magic tricks that are not easy for other magicians. Jin Shushu frowned. You mean extreme magic? Zhao Jin nodded. For example, teleportation is good. Jin Shushu shook his head. You know, I have a rule not to perform extreme magic for children. Zhao Jin, then can I see it? Now the light is good, and it's not in the room. He wonders if he is Lamei. Jin Shushu. She was originally preparing for this magic show to perform more complicated magic. So Jin Shushu closed his eyes again. Zhao Jin feels magical every time she closes her eyes, because the magicians he has seen before like to communicate with the audience. Immediately afterwards, I saw Jin Shushu's body slowly floating up. This time, he was sure that he was not mistaken, and he just floated up. Zhao Jin. In the evening, Zhao Jin returned to his home and found various magic deciphers on the internet. However, he couldn't explain how Jin Shushu could float and teleport. Zhao Jin felt strange as he thought about it, and sent a message to his best brother, do you think anyone can actually move and float instantly? The people over there quickly replied, why did the late-night president stray into the magical world? Is it a distortion of human nature or a loss of morality? Welcome to the 24th issue of Approaching Science, The Mystery Behind Teleportation. Is a link. When you click in, you will see a show. The show is deciphering a master who claims to be a Qigong master, deciphering his teleportation and fetching objects from the air. In the end, it proved that the so-called fetching from the air and teleportation are all deceptive tricks. Zhao Jin was brainwashed by science. After the annual meeting, he didn't have much business. He didn't plan to go again the next morning, but when the time was almost the same, it passed. In the past, I saw Jin Shushu wearing her iconic down jacket. When I saw him coming over, she reminded, don't forget to wear a mask. Hey! Zhao Jin was a little strange. Children are easy to judge people by their appearance. You don't have to take it seriously. When they grow up, they will know that the beauty of the soul is the most important thing. When Zhao Jin heard this, he suddenly remembered the assistant who came back yesterday. That man is indeed a little scary. So, in the eyes of this woman, does she look exactly like that man? Zhao Jin. Seeing that Zhao Jin was unwilling to cooperate, Jin Shushu took a mask from the side and put it on him. Zhao Jin. Sure. Jin Shushu said. Then I took a taxi to the client's house. Zhao Jin wears a mask, which is still a big grey wolf mask. Zhao Jin is very unhappy, but he still finds that he can't take it off. Fortunately, this mask does not affect his breathing, nor does it affect his seeing. Zhao Jin and Jin Shushu got into the taxi together. Zhao Jin had a question in his mind, so he asked in a low voice, in fact, we can move in an instant, right? Jin Shushu gave Zhao Jin a strange look. Zhao Jin thought in his heart, it seemed that he was thinking too much. Immediately afterwards, I heard the other party say helplessly, we ordinary magicians can't move to places that have never been in an instant. Her helpless tone, Zhao Jin used it more than once, because he occasionally couldn't move his subordinates. Time. There was a barrage in Zhao Jin's heart. Us ordinary people can't even move to places we've been before in an instant. Jin Shushu has become accustomed to the naive questions asked by his assistant, after all, this has always been the case. However, Jin Shushu just said some basic common sense, and was not prepared to really teach the other party the ultimate magic. After all, Jin Shushu could not see the love for magic from this person, but she was planning to teach them ordinary magic before, and she was considered too difficult to learn. And gave up. In fact, she knows that this assistant is of little use. She can do many things by herself, but one problem is that this assistant is tall and others are afraid of him, which can indirectly avoid some unnecessary troubles. Plus, Jin Shushu is a typical kitchen killer. She really doesn't want to torture her stomach, so she said she was a magic assistant, but she was actually a life assistant. Soon they arrived at the destination, and a middle-aged woman came to pick them up. It turned out that although they organized this birthday party at home, they invited many students from Xiao Shaoxing, and the family was organized in a decent way, with Xiao Shaoxing's father as the host. When I saw the two people coming, since the first reaction was that the tall man behind the mask was a magician, magic, hello. Xia Shaoxing's father stretched out his hand to Zhao Jin. Jin Shushu took his hand naturally. Mr. Li, hello, can you tell me about the process? Mr. Li was a little surprised. Jin Shushu is obviously already familiar with such things, and he doesn't mind. Sorry, I just admitted wrong. Do we need to prepare for it? No. Just tell me about the process. Jin Shushu said. Mr. Li said, then you sit back first, and when it's the magic show, we will call you. He said that he served 2 glasses of juice for 2 people. Jin Shushu took Zhao Jin to sit in the next room. Zhao Jin's first experience of this kind of thing was sitting on a cold bench, but it didn't feel bad. Seeing Jin Shushu closing his eyes again, Zhao Jin felt very strange and said, don't we need to prepare props? I didn't bring any of the big boxes at home. Is it placed there for decoration? Jin Shushu opened his eyes and said, you now seem to be my assistant on the first day. She didn't smile when she said this, it felt weird and a little scary. Zhao Jin retorted in his heart. Is not only the first day of being your assistant, but also the first day of being an assistant. When she is unemployed, he must introduce her a job, that is, to be a secretary for him, and he must teach her how to be a good boss. Zhao Jin is really a good 24K boss. It can be said that his company's resignation rate is extremely low, employees have a very high sense of belonging, and they have first-class business capabilities. The high salaries of their peers can't be digging away. It's not just because he is handsome. Zhao Jin couldn't help but said, you can be gentle with me when I didn't make a mistake, and I also fried a good scrambled eggs with tomatoes yesterday. Jin Shushu. Now the assistant suddenly became more talkative. Jin Shushu is a little uncomfortable. She doesn't like communicating with people very much, but because she doesn't like communicating with people so much, she likes performing magic so much. Jin Shushu said, the scrambled eggs with tomatoes last night was delicious, thank you. You're welcome. Zhao Jin said. Soon, it started outside, and someone came over and called them, magic, is there a way to put this cake away and make it out again? Jin Shushu looked at the cake and nodded. Put it away. Zhao Jin. Others only think they have some props. After all, magicians can transform rabbits out of thin air, and they can also transform into living people, so it's not surprising. Zhao Jin is different. When I left today, I didn't see Jin Shushu picking up any props, so how did she make this cake disappear? Before Zhao Jin had time to ask, someone called Jin Shushu onto the stage. Jin Shushu wore a simple black suit and walked over. Zhao Jin sat by the door, watching the performance from the side. After Jin Shushu stepped up, he began to perform. Zhao Jin was stunned. Boss magician, shouldn't you say a few opening remarks? Zhao Jin is also someone who has seen magic, and those magicians are very good at adjusting the atmosphere of the scene. It was the first time I saw someone as direct as Jin Shushu. I saw Jin Shushu took a piece of paper, and then began to fold it, and then, I saw that piece of paper, which slowly turned into a flower. Zhao Jin. Jin Shu blew a bit, and a flower turned into a colorful butterfly and flew away. Zhao Jin. Even if I read it the second time, I still don't understand the principle inside. Below, a little boy raised his hand and said, you must be hiding something in your sleeve. The magician I watch on TV does this. Jin Shushu is not the first day to deal with children, she is not angry, children are like this, want to show that she is knowledgeable and talented. Jin Shushu folded his sleeves and said, you can't hide things now. Under normal circumstances, the people who need to hide things are ordinary magicians, because they have not reached the highest level, so in most cases they rely on props, or rely on the illusion of the audience. Jin Shushu is different. Jin Shushu stretched out her hand again, and saw a big shiny butterfly flying out of the palm of her hand. Then the other children were shocked, including the adults, who sat down to take a serious look. Of course, I didn't see how it was done. After the butterfly flew up, it posed the words "Happy Birthday," and then disappeared. Then I saw Jin Shushu flip over her hand, and a big cake appeared in her hand. The others began to applaud, and of course they were even more curious about how this seemingly young magician did it. Jin Shushu retired and returned to Zhao Jin. Of course, they divided the cake for the two of them. Zhao Jin couldn't eat with the mask, and Jin Shushu didn't remove the mask for him. After all, this kind of thing happened before, and the little girl was scared to tears, and the money was not received that day. After the show was over and the cake was finished, nothing happened to them. Mr. Li settled the bill for 300 yuan. Jin Shushu collected the money, and then took away the cake that was given to the assistant just now. When he came out, he took off the mask from the assistant's face and handed him half of the cake. Zhao Jin took it and followed Jin Shushu's back. Have you ever noticed that you have a big flaw in performing magic? Did you find it? Of course not found. Jin Shushu looked at her assistant. Hey! She was curious what the other party would say. Do you think that what you have obviously changed is some thrilling magic, but the whole mood on the scene is calm? Zhao Jin said. Occupational diseases are purely occupational diseases. I can't help but want to tell her when I see the other party's problems. Jin Shushu nodded. This question is not wrong, then what do you think I should do? No matter what, there needs to be a foreshadowing. Only when there is a foreshadowing can there be expectations. You have to arouse their interest. Jin Shushu felt that what the other party said made sense. What should I do then? You can figure it out by yourself. After Zhao Jin finished it, he found that the words were too stiff. After all, the other party is now his boss, not the other party's boss, so he added, you can look at the scenes of other magic masters. Performance. It's been too long to be a manager. I'm used to this process. Jin Shushu was not angry. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that the other party made sense. At this time, Zhao Jin's cell phone rang. Zhao Jin answered the phone and had to say to Jin Shushu, I have something to go out. It's okay to do a part-time job, but I have to come back to cook lunch. Jin Shushu said. She was still able to understand that the other party had a third-year sister to raise, but she asked him to be an assistant for two things, one was cooking, and the other was to accompany her out to run business to avoid unnecessary trouble. Naturally, I hope that the other party can do it. Zhao Jin. Why do you ask him to cook so naturally? Then what do you want to eat at noon? Zhao Jin asked. I want to fry a dish. Zhao Jin nodded, yes. As soon as he turned around, a driver came to pick him up. After sitting down, Zhao Jin looked at the driver's figure, which was not tall enough. On the other side, after returning home, Jin Shushu turned on the computer. She had actually watched a lot of master-level performances, but many of them couldn't reach it. But looking again, there is indeed a new experience. Jin Shushu took the paper and pen and wrote down the process of the masters. After she watched the master's performance, she heard someone knock on the door. Jin Shu went to open the door and saw a man in a black coat with a grey wolf mask in his hand. I'm back for lunch. Jin Shushu saw that he had bought vegetables back, so he said, the money for the vegetables can be reimbursed. Zhao Jin's life assistant Chu Feng nodded, thank you, boss. Jin Shushu. Why are you suddenly so polite? After Chu Feng arrived in the kitchen, he sent a message to Zhao Jin who was in the meeting, she didn't recognize me, I'm already preparing to cook in the kitchen. He thought it was amazing. It seemed that the girl was not only blind, but also there are also problems with voice recognition. Zhao Jin quickly replied a message, very good. Chu Feng's hands and feet are very swift, so he first washed the dishes and chopsticks that the boss had saved in the morning. At this time, Jin Shushu walked into the kitchen. I saw the problem you said today. Chu Feng became nervous all at once. Was it discovered? When he left, the boss told him not to be found out. This was his first job. He didn't want to be fired because he didn't want to work. So he didn't know how the boss suddenly thought of experiencing life, but the boss said so. Of course he must do his best to do this job well. Chu Feng said, then what? I took a look. Indeed, I didn't have any preparation or suspense in doing magic, and didn't bring the audience into my world. Jin Shushu said. Chu Feng looked at the girl who looked like a college student. She turned out to be a magician. What then? Chu Feng didn't understand this matter, so he listened to Jin Shushu as much as possible, and said less himself. Jin Shushu continued, then you should chop vegetables. Because the rice over there is already cooked. Chu Feng nodded and hurriedly chopped vegetables. He would rather cook, rather than chat, because he was afraid of exposing himself and causing the boss to lose his job. Jin Shushu was uncomfortable smelling oil smoke, so he quit the kitchen and returned to the living room. When there was nothing to do during the meal, she thought that the master in the video just now could be suspended on a building several hundred meters high, and she wanted to try again. Then this time it still ended in failure, and she still couldn't go where she hadn't been before. Jin Shushu is not discouraged. It doesn't matter if it doesn't work now, it can be done someday. After Zhao Jin finished the meeting, he came out and sent a message to his assistant, have you eaten? I have finished eating, and she also praised me that cooking is delicious. More than cooking and cooking, Jin Shushu was stunned and began to wonder if the other party did it deliberately because of the low salary he paid. Unpalatable? Looking at this message, Zhao Jin felt unhappy in his heart for an instant. If this person cooks such delicious food, what should he do later? When Zhao Jin came over, Chu Feng happened to tell Jin Shushu that he wanted to go out. Jin Shushu looked at this assistant, and if he had known earlier, he would have been raised by 200 yuan in salary, he would have become polite, and the cooking would be delicious. She must have risen by 200 yuan long ago. Jin Shushu originally had an opinion on him, but now he has a better impression, and he said, you don't need to tell me where you are going. As long as you remember to come back and cook 3 meals, you can be on call when you go out for business. Up. Chu Feng nodded, then went out and returned by himself for the boss. Zhao Jin came back soon, and as expected, Jin Shushu didn't notice a change of person. Zhao Jin can now understand why this person used to brush his presence in front of him again and again, and in a blink of an eye he didn't know him again. Jin Shushu was a little surprised that he came back so soon, but it was not bad. Jin Shushu continued to look at the computer. Zhao Jin remembered that when he was in the coffee shop, this person was gentle and cute. Why didn't he like to care about people so secretly? When Zhao Jin saw that she was watching the master's levitation technique, she just didn't touch anyone, lifted the person up and hung in the air. This master is very powerful, can you do this? Jin Shushu looked at the assistant, I can't do his level. Zhao Jin wants to comfort her, it doesn't matter. According to the secret, there must be iron wires or magnetic fields in this. Then I saw Jin Shushu put his hand on a book, and the book slowly floated up. Zhao Jin. Zhao Jin confirmed that the book is just an ordinary book, and the table is just an ordinary table without wires, and magnets. It was an ordinary book, placed on an ordinary table, and then an ordinary magician put his ordinary hands on the book, and the book floated. Zhao Jin felt that he no longer knew the word ordinary. Calm down, Zhao Jin told himself that this might really be a normal thing. Because the other person's expression is actually very depressed. As if I can only pick up a book out of thin air and feel depressed like this. Zhao Jin asked Jin Shushu suspiciously in the world, Boss, what do you think is the magic mystery performed by this magic master? Jin Shushu turned his head, looked at his assistant, and said patiently, this level of magic has been separated from the props. It depends on the love of magic in your heart, but if you want to learn this level of magic, you must learn the previous magic first. Zhao Jin. By love. And looking at her expression, she is serious. Zhao Jin now doesn't know what kind of expression he should use to face this matter. Is it because I am so rich also rely on love to generate electricity? It seems so, I quite like money. No, these two things cannot be confused. Jin Shushu said at this time, you go make dinner. After finishing talking, she went into the props room next door, and Zhao Jin followed. You haven't explained clearly how to generate electricity with love. Rely on love to generate electricity. Jin Shushu thought for a while, and said, this idea is good, let me give it a try. Zhao Jin can't clearly see the other side's brain circuits now. Is she in herself a person of the same world? No, to be more precise, are they people of the same race? Jin Shushu entered the props room. Zhao Jin hurriedly called the life assistant and asked him to come and clean up the room, plus cooking. As for letting him cook, cooking does not know how to cook, and will never cook. When his life assistant came to cook, Zhao Jin took the laptop and started searching. Is there anything in this world that he doesn't know? Then, he watched 2 more approach to science programs, plus a magic reveal. Yes, I was brainwashed twice by science, and then revealed by magic. That's right, the other party's dangling is relying on props. In the end, Zhao Jin identified a problem. This ordinary magician has something that humans don't know yet. Zhao Jin suddenly remembered that the other party had no way to distinguish between people. Even if the face was blind, she couldn't tell the difference even if the voice was completely different. This situation is a bit like that humans cannot distinguish the differences between each orangutan, and naturally I have never heard of anyone who can distinguish the calls of each orangutan. Is this because of apartheid? With bold assumptions and careful arguments, Zhao Jin thinks that it is more possible. Moreover, the other party is also proficient in computers. Not only that, but he also created a website to sell tickets on it. But, it's just not well publicized. After Zhao Jin's woe finished, the assistant over there has already cooked the vegetables, and fried a small green vegetable, a tomato, and an egg. Having put the tray on the table, Zhao Jin gestured to the other party, meaning it was okay. So the assistant left, and Zhao Jin went to ask Jin Shushu to come out for dinner. When Jin Shushu came out, Zhao Jin looked at her, trying to find out the difference between her and human beings. But at this moment he was even more curious about another question. Boss, didn't you say that your magic, is it amazing? It's so amazing. She also had an assistant before, so no one doubted anything? Jin Shushu raised his eyes to look at the assistant. The first time they saw her performing magic tricks, they all clamored to learn from her, but when she taught, they stopped learning and didn't mention the matter much. Is it magical? Jin Shushu still couldn't reach the level of a master. The one thing the master said the most from a young age was that she couldn't survive outside with her magic level. And every time I went out to perform, it was indeed quite satisfactory. It was the first time I heard an adult say that her magic is amazing. Jin Shushu guessed, do you want to borrow money? Because the last time the other party said her kind words, it was to find her to borrow money. Jin Shushu actually didn't want to lend him money. She knew that he borrowed money to make money for his sister, but the problem was that his sister was too naive. He took the money to invite his classmates to dinner, so she didn't want to lend him the money. Zhao Jin was stunned when he heard the other party talking about borrowing money. I really think your magic is magical. I have never seen such a powerful magic. That's because you have little knowledge. Jin Shushu vomited blankly. Zhao Jin was amused by the other party's complaint. This feeling is that one of them has gone into the wrong world, and both are judging everything about each other with the conventional concept of their own world. Zhao Jin conceded, I have little knowledge, can I learn magic with you? No one is unmoved by this ability that has reached non-human beings. Zhao Jin also had a second-year period, when he was obsessed with all kinds of superpowers. Now that there is an opportunity in front of him, how could he easily let it go? Zhao Jin chose what was in his heart almost without even thinking about it. The food tonight was good. Jin Shushu thought about it. It's okay to learn, then you can't give up easily this time. She actually wanted to teach an apprentice to come out, but she didn't plan to screen it out, because all the people are the same here. Zhao Jin was a little pleased. He didn't expect to be able to learn magic so easily. Of course, what he thought in his heart is that it is best to make the other party promise to teach and teach. So after dinner, Jin Shushu took Zhao Jin to the next room, which was the room where the props were placed. Jin Shushu turned on the light, and Zhao Jin could see the room clearly, but it was not too far from when the light was not turned on. They were all boxes. Then, I saw Jin Shushu open one of the boxes, then conjured a flower out of his hand and threw it in. Turning around, he said to Zhao Jin, "Pick out the words I just threw in." Zhao Jin. So simple? Zhao Jin stepped forward and saw the 3 cobras inside. Looking straight at him, the snake's body leaned forward more and more. The author has something to say. If you are a male protagonist, you have nothing to fear. It's just 3 snakes, let's go. Zhao Jin. For a moment, I felt that I might not be the male lead, but just a passerby. My ordinary name, the hostess doesn't know me, and I'm afraid of snakes. Zhao Jin turned his head in slow motion, his always handsome face turned pale, and asked the confident woman next to him, "Do you have a permit to raise a cobra?" Zhao Jin also knows a thing or two about snakes, and he can naturally see that none of the 3 snakes have their fangs removed. In other words, if they bite him, it will be dead. Jin Shushu said, "If you want to learn magic, take out the flowers first." Zhao Jin. Is fate important, or is it more important to open the door to a new world? At this time, Zhao Jin wanted to find a snake trainer to be his stand-in. But there is no way to implement such a good plan because time is too late. Jin Shushu continued, "Be gentle and don't touch your hands. If you touch a snake, it will bite you." Zhao Jin. Now the arrow is on the string, and he has to send it. He can only wonder for a while when a snake bites him, this person will make a move. So Zhao Jin cleared up his mood and stretched out his hand, shaking a little. He could feel his hand refusing to get a flower. Jin Shushu watched from the side, although he couldn't see the other person's expression, but there was a strange feeling. In the past, they had to learn magic to bring them over, and a few people ran away. But this time, it seemed that he was serious, and Jin Shushu saw him close his eyes. "Jin Shushu, open your eyes." Zhao Jin said, "I can't just watch myself being bitten by a snake." There was a period of time before, when he wanted to experience the life of ordinary people. The aura he carried was destined to lose something. The monotonous life day after day, year after year, made him unfamiliar with many emotions. At least this huge fear, the emotion of being able to hear my own heartbeat and shaking hands, has not appeared for many years. Jin Shushu was amused by this sentence. He couldn't watch himself being bitten, so he closed his eyes, "Right? Open your eyes to make sure you won't touch the snake." Jin Shushu said to him patiently, "Open your eyes quickly." Zhao Jin had no choice but to open his eyes. If others could take out this flower from it, he would definitely be able to. But the problem is that he is a person, and the other party is not necessarily a person. A bowl of poisonous chicken soup successfully turned himself over. Then Zhao Jin held his breath, looked at the cobra, and stretched his hand into the box. Surprisingly, the cobra did not bite him. He gently hooked the flower, took it out, and then closed the box as quickly as possible. The action is smooth and flowing, all in one go. He himself couldn't believe that he had done this. Jin Shushu was surprised and took the flowers. "You can learn magic," no need to call me the boss, call me the master. Zhao Jin didn't care about these titles, his voice was low, master. Go back and rest, come early tomorrow morning. Jin Shushu hung himself upside down on the wall and said to Zhao Jin. When Zhao Jin came out of the community, his driver had already come to pick him up and got in the car. Zhao Jin received the call again. Mr. Zhao has been upset these past few days and refuses to take medicine, said the nurse over there. The smile on Zhao Jin's face was put away at once, transfer to Zishan nursing home. As the car was driving on the highway, Zhao Jin looked at the scenery outside the window, and in a blink of an eye, he had been back for 6 years. When he was 10 years old, he went abroad, stayed abroad for 12 years, and only came back 6 years ago. There is no childhood, no freedom, no family. In this way, he can grow into an outstanding young man who is not racing, not playing women, not pursuing excitement, and thinking about GDP growth, and he is proud of himself. Zhao Jin recalled a lot of things, and diluted a lot of the unhappiness that he was about to meet someone. When he arrived, the nurse greeted him and said, the old man refused to take medicine for these 2 days. With a cry, Zhao Jin entered the ward, when a fruit bowl came out, and Zhao Jin Shun caught it. What are you doing here? Mr. Zhao said sarcastically. Zhao Jin sat down next to him, accustomed to being gentle. You should understand that your tone of voice will not cause any harm to me, and it will not affect me if you don't take medicine. Over the years, he had long been used to disguising all his emotions, and later he didn't know if it was real or disguised. On the other side, Jin Shushu remembered what Zhao Jin said about using love to generate electricity. She stepped down from the wall, trying to see if she could release lightning, but she tried twice without success. She knew that she had reached a new bottleneck. Just like when she fetched things from the air, she couldn't succeed in life and death. The main reason was that when the bottleneck period was reached, she needed a time to improve herself. Early the next morning, the assistant came to cook breakfast, and Jin Shushu continued to promote and contact customers. When I was online, I saw a message saying that the reason why the popular actress Tan Ning has so many resources is that the gold owner behind her is Zhao Jin, the CEO of the Zhao Group. Jin Shushu still knows a little bit about this person, that is, last time there was a kind person who cheated with her and also raised a lot of female college students. But other people's private lives have nothing to do with her, and Jin Shushu didn't read it much, so he closed the website. The assistant Chu Feng who cooks breakfast in the kitchen, Zhao Jin is actually very busy, so there is no way to come. When Chu Feng came out, he saw his boss's master magician watching the news. Of course, Zhao Jin asked his assistant to call the master but not the boss. Chu Feng looked at this thin and good-looking girl, of course, did not think that the boss really regarded this person as a master and learned magic from her. He only treated this girl as the boss. It's just a little worried. This girl seems to have serious face blindness. She will really be together in the future and she won't know him. Moreover, Chu Feng felt that the other party did not recognize the boss now, but regarded the boss as her original assistant. And the boss asked his own assistant to come and help, but she didn't recognize it either. After Zhao Jin's morning affairs were over, when he returned, he received the sympathetic eyes of the assistant. Zhao Jin. He probably understood what happened in the morning. Fortunately, Jin Shushu was busy in the morning and didn't let him learn magic. The author has something to say, don't question the male lead's ability just because he is approachable. In fact, the big guys in real life have very good personalities, respect people, approachable and polite, and they are also very interesting. Because, the character is bad and doesn't respect people, let alone the bigwigs, whether you can handle your own life is a problem.